Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Chai Tea with Nina D. Today I'm going to get a little personal. I wanted to share my journey or my transition throughout my last 10 plus years in my career. Like, how did I go from law to now having a show and building out a media company? A couple takeaways first. Don't force yourself into something just because you're not clear on what it is that you want to do. Do not go into a line of work because you're afraid of rejection from family and friends or even society, or vice versa. Like, don't not do something because you're afraid of how you're going to be judged for it. If you feel that it's something you need to try or test out, or that you need to go down this path, go. That is your inner compass. You know, we always say, like, I wish life came with a roadmap. I wish life came with directions. You know, I think we do have the directions, and I think they're within us in every nudge, in every idea, in every little thing that pulls us towards it. I think that's our map. That's our internal map that we're born with. At the end of the day, it's up to you to pursue your passions, to work on your craft, and to build a life that you are happy living and building. This might be morbid, but when we're on our deathbed, you want to look back and be proud of yourself. You want to be happy with yourself. You don't want to say that you lived your life for someone else's approval or someone else's acceptance, or you just had to do what you had to do. I think that we are better people. We are healthier. We are happier. We are better wives, better husbands, better siblings, better daughters, better sons, better friends, better people of a society at large when we take the time to find out what it is that we want to do and pursue it with all our heart. I think that stuff has a ripple effect in our world in a positive way. How do you know that you've found your thing, your purpose, your passion? I can only tell you from personal experience. For me, it was when I couldn't sleep at night because I was so excited. I wanted to stay up late and work on it. I wanted to write down all these ideas that I had. I wanted to get up and work on them the next morning. I wanted to find the right people and surround myself with the right team members that had the same passion, maybe even more than I do, to keep myself in that energy vibe. That's how I knew that I was onto something. The second thing was when, even if things got tough, like for me personally, tech is just not my thing, but my entire career now is on tech, that I never gave up. Even though it was hard, even though I got frustrated at times, I never gave up. I try to keep learning. I will learn. I will figure it out. I will seek help, but I won't let it stop me. And not once do I think this is too hard and I can't do it. That's how you know you've found your purpose and your calling. It ignites something in you that's bigger than yourself. I only know this because of how small and inferior and insignificant I have felt in the past when I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing, didn't know what my passions were, didn't even know that I was creative. First of all, that was a shock to me. And when I got so sick that I could do nothing but focus on my body 24/7, and then a complete 180 happens. And now it's like, I don't even think about my aches and pains or when I did have those, like I was just outside of myself. And I think I could compare it to something like when people have kids, they're living for something other than themselves. They're not so self-absorbed. And I feel as though when you find your passion, that is your project, that is your thing. It doesn't matter if it takes you 12, 15, 16-hour days. It doesn't matter if you didn't eat today. It's okay if you have a headache, you're gonna power through. Like, you now have something that's bigger than you, and this is what you're living for. I think that's also another green flag of like, that's how you know you're onto something. Another way you know that you are onto something is if, despite any kind of praise or criticism, you're showing up. You don't even care anymore. And for me personally, I had lived most of my life looking for acceptance and validation, that when I finally had, because enough is enough, and then I had nothing because I didn't know what I wanted to do, now I started to feel inferior and low self-esteem and insignificant and small and just a waste of space. I was unhappy because now I thought everybody around me was judging me. So you see, I was still seeking something external instead of knowing that I am here for a reason. I just hasn't clicked yet. Didn't even take the time to know myself, that I am more than a title. I am more than my degrees. I am more than a job. I am more than a career, a purpose, or a passion at the end of the day. I knew I was onto this because once I started down this path, having nobody in the media field in my family on either side, putting myself out there, good or bad, experienced, unexperienced, I didn't care about anyone's opinions or critiques on my show. I don't look for recognition. I don't look for if someone's watching or not. It doesn't hurt my feelings if people acknowledge it or not. It completely is like such a neutral thing for me. I have never felt this sense of freedom from other people's opinions and judgments in my life until I started this. And I hope and wish and pray that everyone in this world, every child in this world, every young adult in this world, and adults in this world get to experience the level of freedom that I feel like I am experiencing every single day right now. I think that's, when you look at like really good, I'm not comparing myself to artists by any means, but like when you look at really, really big artists and filmmakers and people, they're not, a lot of them are just doing it to do it because it makes them feel alive. And that's it. It's art. It's creation. You're creating something. And when you're creating something, you're in this ebb and this flow. You're in this active meditation. You're in this flow state. And I think being in the flow state as many hours throughout the day as you possibly can be in is medicine for our mind, for our soul, for our emotions, and for our body. I think that's what we should be seeking, if anything. What gets you into your flow state? More hours than not throughout your day, where you don't care if the world sees it or not. You don't care if the world likes it or not. It's okay. For me, my career, we can go all the way back to school. I did not want to go to law school, but for me, it was very clear cut. You're a typical Asian family immigrant story. You're going to go to college, but you're going to go to college in our hometown. You're not leaving the state. Great. You're going to go to pre-med. Awesome. Almost flunked out. And then my dad's like, fine, next best thing. You're going to be a lawyer. Okay. Once I graduated college and all my friends were most of my friends were getting jobs and moving out of their parents' homes and just like, building their life. I was like still stuck going to school. And that already wasn't sitting well with me. Having to move to Michigan of all places was not sitting well with me. So as a little bit of a rebellious thing that I started to do, I went to Korea for like a month and kind of like packed my stuff up in a way like I was not coming back. I don't really know what I was thinking when I did that. But when I came back home, I walked into the front door. My parents looked at me and they're like, turn around. And they go, your car is packed. We're driving you to Michigan and you're going to law school. Okay. I slept the whole way. I was very upset. Got there. It's all a blur to me, to be very honest with you. But as I started to meet new people there and was surrounded by other people going to school and, working on their careers and stuff, I started to warm up to the idea. When I got through my first term, I realized I'm pretty good at this. And I started to get curious. The show Suits came out. We all watched that. Started to see where this could go. Then I started to really dream big. I was like, man, I could go into politics. I can own my own firm. I can get my brother involved. We'll have this like family firm thing. We'll grow it really big. We'll do it in Philadelphia. Like the dreams were there. They were starting to trickle in slowly. And I had another goal that I set for myself because law school's 3 years. I'll do it in 2. If you know, you know, not easy. I am 2 weeks shy from my second to last term because now I was going to take my finals, move to Philadelphia, which I couldn't wait to do because I was back with my family and friends, and do an internship there that would count as credits. And then in another 3 months, I would graduate. But I'd have to leave and move out of school from Michigan to go do this externship. So 2 weeks shy from finals, which if you guys know, in law school, finals they're a big deal. You kind of don't have a life 4 weeks before finals. All you do is study, 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 go to class, study, study, study. And I already had a lot on my plate going on. 2 weeks shy from finals, I get a very heartbreaking call from my family that I'm not ready to talk about yet. But it was definitely the first thing that ever shook me to my core. And it was the beginning of things that would continue to go wrong in my life for the next 10, 12 years. And I didn't know what pain was till this. I didn't know what real heartbreak was till this. I moved moved to Philadelphia, and what was supposed to be a very exciting time of my life and something I was looking forward to being with my friends and family, was turning into a very negative, depressing thing for me. Did my externship, very quickly knew that this was not for me, very quickly knew that law is not my area. I don't trust it. I don't like it. It's nothing like what I read in textbooks. Huge wake-up call. It's not fair. It's breaking families. It's ruining people's lives. What am I doing here? Why am I here? I think I just made my life's biggest mistake by spending 2.5 years of my life in law school. I don't know what I'm going to do if I don't do this. Like, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? How am I going to financially be independent? Like, it was just a lot. And so I wasn't even out of the red zone yet. I graduate and now I have to take the bar. I have a full-time job at a gym because my parents weren't just handing me money. I had to support myself. And I was studying for the bar, and I was still dealing with this lurking cloud. I did not pass the bar the first time because, well, that was also related to what was going on. And I was like shy, I think 3 points shy from passing the bar. So now I have to go take this thing again, study again, take it again, which is a 3-4 month period, by the way. You have to study and then take it. Passed it. And my parents are like, you don't have a choice. Like, you have to find a job, like grow up. It's time to grow up. I will say they were hard on me. And rightfully so. I put myself in their shoes. They had bigger fish to fry at this point, and they could not be there for me in the way that I maybe would have needed, but I didn't even know I needed that. Okay. So I jumped from job to job, not liking any of it. Finally, I land on a corporate HR director role for a company right outside of Philadelphia. And I thought, okay, this will do. And pretty lucky to be in that situation, in that position. It was definitely not all law, not all legal, so I was happy. But if someone were to ask me, like, Nina, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I didn't have an answer. I didn't know. And it wasn't until during that time, we're looking at like 2014, 15, 16 now, I reconnected with my now husband. And when we were talking, in the talking stages again, his love and happiness for his career, which, by the way, he chose not to go the legal route. He went to law school, graduated, did not take the bar, and jumped right into finance, like private equity, venture capital stuff. And his passion and happiness for his job and his career was so invigorating for me at the time. I never met anybody who loved what they did. None of my friends. My parents did and do love real estate, but there was more stress than happiness, I would say, growing up. But my husband's passion for investments and Bitcoin and crypto and blockchain and venture capital and private equity was just so refreshing for me that without even me knowing it, I think I was becoming aware, like, there is a whole other world out here. People do love what they do. It is possible. And that voice started to get louder and louder and louder the more him and I were talking. Eventually, it was like, who's moving where? And we chose that I should move to St. Louis because his career was really taking off. And so now I'm living with him. Now, while I'm in St. Louis, I realize that instead of being excited about my new life, I'm continuing to shrink inward because I don't want people to ask me what I do. I don't want to put a highlight on that I don't know what I'm doing yet, or that I go, I went to law school and I was a lawyer and now I'm not. Like, I placed my entire identity and self-worth into my title. You guys already know where that was stemming from. It was stemming from my childhood. But this is where I should have taken accountability as an adult. And I should have done the inner work to take action to find what it is that I am good at or what it is that I would like to do with the rest of my life. because I had an example with me. I was living with that example. He was the example of, you just go do it. And he's not the kind of person to like force you into anything or say anything, but he would just say like, take your time, like, experiment with things or whatever. And so I was, but I feel as though I was still in a victim mentality. I was in a victim mentality from the trauma from with what my family and I had just gone through, that like I don't know what I want to do. I was in a victim mentality that my parents are not happy with what I'm doing. Well, my dad. And that he's judging me for this right now and very unhappy with me, which by the way, he was very vocal about it. He was extremely unhappy that I quit law. He was very unhappy that I moved to St. Louis and made it very known to me every chance that he got. So if I could go back and change anything, it would be that I could take more accountability for myself, for my emotions, and for my actions once I moved to St. Louis. That was my moment to flip the script. And instead, I chose to let the past limit me. I chose to allow the trauma to shrink me. I let these voices get in my head of other people that almost froze me, I guess you could say in some ways. Like I kind of froze. Despite all of this, I start to see like a glimmer. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to write a book. I have so much to share and I have so much to say. Like I should write a book. I suck at writing. I'll find a publisher or I'll find like someone who's good at writing. So I do that. Some people read it. And I end up in Mexico for my honeymoon, where we meet people and they also read it. And they're probably the 10th or 12th person to say to me, you should start a podcast. And I'm like, huh. My best friend too used to say that to me all the time, you should start a podcast. I'm like, okay, this is coming up a lot for me. Like, I don't know the first thing about a podcast, but okay. So me and my girlfriend start this podcast in 2018, 2019. And we did it for about a year and a half, almost 2 years. And it was taking off. Like it was doing well. But she wanted to talk about more like salacious things. And I wanted to talk about more like quantum physics and manifestation and meditation and spirituality and your third eye, your chakras and all that. So we went our separate ways. Within a couple weeks, I rebranded and changed the name of the show and got my husband to join me as the co-host. And we went at all the topics that I wanted to talk about. That too did very well. I am now finding my voice, but I am still shaky. I am crawling. By no means am I walking or running yet. But just when I think that I'm like getting the hang of things, COVID happens, lockdown happens. And within weeks, I get very sick and I just don't bounce back. And it wasn't COVID. Is it MS? Is it cancer? Is it this? Is that? Like all sorts of testing was going on, crazy things. I couldn't walk. I could barely eat. I was living off water, yogurt, and sometimes ginger ale. That's it. Because nothing would, like I couldn't eat or drink anything without getting nauseous. I had like head to toe full body neuropathy with pain. So I went from like being a very active person, running 6 miles a day, lifting weights, doing Pilates, yoga, this and that, super active, to all of a sudden, no show, 24/7 home because of the lockdown, can't move, can't run, can't walk, can't do anything. The only time I step out is to go to a doctor's appointment to figure out what's wrong with me. No family support because my family can't fly in because the flights were shut down. So now what felt like I thought I was getting there, all of a sudden I feel like I took 20 steps backwards. And I'm right back to that victim mentality and I'm right back to like what's happening, survival mode. It was literally survival mode. Like I literally felt like my body was attacking itself and I couldn't think about anything else except my body at the time. I thought my darkest moments were the 2 weeks before finals in law school. And I thought that I would come out of something. And I thought that moving to St. Louis was going to be a new life and like changing and like, no, it didn't turn out that way. Well, it didn't feel like it did, right? And then when I got sick, I remember telling my mom, I was like, Mom, this is the worst thing that I think can happen to anybody, is you not having control over your body, you not being able to walk, talk, hold a glass, eat, and just being dependent on someone else to take care of you. Like, and I just questioned life. I questioned, like, why me? What did I do wrong? All I did was listen to my parents the whole time. Went to school, got good grades, then went to law school. I got a degree, passed the bar, looked for a job, did this. Okay. And the minute I voiced my unhappiness and I set out to do something different, like God punishes me, the universe is punishing me for going after what I want, for choosing love over my career, moving to St. Louis to be with somebody, and then putting myself out there with 2 podcasts. Like, this is what I get in return. Like, it was very mind-bending. And I would just lay there thinking about these things. And I remember my mom said, Nina, an empty mind is the devil's playground. And I remember snapping back and saying, Mom, I tried. What would you like me to do? Today, I can't do anything. Like, I couldn't even talk on a podcast without getting this autonomic nervous system dysfunction symptoms. So like my spine would just crunch up, my traps would get really tight, like the air would get sucked out of me, and there were times I couldn't even form a sentence, which is why they thought it was MS for a very long time. So she's like, Nina, that's not what I'm saying. She's like, I'm saying that even if you're laying there, meditate, pray. Don't think about something in a loop that makes you unhappy. Shift your focus, control your mind. You can still control your mind. This is where I started to read a lot about Joe Dispenza and Bruce Lipton, Alan Watts. Would just spend hours consuming their content and putting it into practice while laying there. And today I can say that yes, everything good or bad really does happen for a reason. And you will never be able to connect the dots forward in life. But once you are forced to go through something and you come out of it on the other end, you'll be able to connect the dots backwards. And for me, those moments that I felt broken and lost and just completely like, don't even know what I can possibly do to take myself, to climb out of this, are exactly what shaped me into the person I am today. This is why I feel like I can handle and smash the goals that I have set for myself. This is why I feel like I am able to be vulnerable. I am okay with putting myself out there now. I have been on such the opposite spectrum for so long. I had no choice. I had nowhere to go but push back and go forward. There was nowhere else for me to go. I couldn't think worse. I couldn't feel worse. I really could only go up from here on out, is how I feel now looking back. We will never be able to control what happens to us. You can never control what happens in your business, in your career, in your relationships, with your kids, with your friends, with your family. But what you can control is how you respond, not react, how you respond to life. And if there's one thing I look back on that I consistently failed at, was I was reacting to life. I was not responding to life. I gave my power away. I could have showed up with a lot more confidence and a lot more faith. I didn't have faith at the time in myself or in God or in the legal system, in anything or anyone. I was just lost faith in everything all around me. And I let that one thing define me, and I let it dictate how I showed up to life, how I took actions, how I didn't take actions. I just became very fearful. I spent more of my emotional bandwidth on how and why this happened, as opposed to what can I do about this? How can we flip the script? This is not the end of our story. We get to write our own story. Exactly who I am today. I am who I am today because I've experienced those things. So I'm going to say it again, that everything really does happen, whether good or bad, really does happen for a reason. And it is up to you to know that in the moment. Don't try to figure it out in the moment. Know that, okay, this is happening. There's a reason. Don't know it yet. It's going to work out. But the show must go on. Become aware, change your perception of things, take action even if you're scared. Courage is not like strength. Courage is you keep going regardless of the fear being there. And then you stick to it, create habits and patterns that support this. And then in months' time, weeks' time, you see everlasting change in your life. Stop focusing on your age when it comes to what you want to do with your life. Age truly does not matter when it comes to your craft. Time doesn't matter. It's never too late. It's never too soon. I feel like we are always going to be as young as we allow ourselves to be. And I believe when we're doing what we love, we are in like a perpetual state of youth and health and vitality and fun and creativity and purpose and passion. And if you aren't living out your purpose or aren't living your passions every single day, it doesn't mean that like life is bad, so to speak. But I will say that you should probably focus on figuring that out. And I'll tell you this, no one else is going to figure it out for you. You have to do that work by yourself. You're not going to get to this point in life without doing the work, the inner work I'm talking about, not the physical work, the inner work. Asking yourself those questions, sitting deep within yourself, knowing why it is that you want to do something or don't want to do something. Your mom can't figure it out for your dad can't, your siblings can't, your spouse can't, your friends can't. That's on you. That's what I was missing in those years of my life from like 2013 to about 2022. That was the piece that I was missing. That's what I learned. In 2022, where I was still pretty sick, but we were sick of being in lockdown in COVID. So we're like, let's spend 3 months of the winter in Miami. Let's get an Airbnb. And so we go. And we drove with our dog and our stuff. 3 days in, I come home and I'm like, to my husband, I'm like, hey, I think that we should sell our house in St. Louis and move here full time to Miami. He's like, I think we're jumping the gun. He goes, it's only been 3 days. He's like, we haven't even unpacked yet. Like, relax. And I'm like, I'm not going back. And I was very sure of myself. And he caught that because I just 2 years of just complete hell with my physical body. And I'm like, no, I'm not going back. About a week into being in Miami, I find a really, really good PT who's able to solve one of the mystery pains that I have in my body that was limiting me from running, lifting weights. And doctors in St. Louis told me that I would need surgery after surgery, that I would never be able to do ab workouts, or that this will always happen to me. This PT fixes me in like a month. In less than a month, I was walking 4 to 6 miles from Midtown to Design District every morning on his direction. This is where I saw glimmer. This is where I saw hope for myself. And I think my husband saw it too. And he's like, okay, something's shifting. For the first time in years, I was like, okay, I'm going to follow this path. Things started to get better for me physically. Things were improving for him in his career. I was improving. Thus, we were both improving. I had my ups and downs in my health still. I still didn't know what I wanted to do with my career, but I was just happy creating a new life for myself here in Miami. And as you guys know, I preach about this all the time, like change your environment, do something new. You're going to create new neural pathways and you're going to break the loops. So I think this was the beginning of me breaking the loop of the victimhood that I was living in, that I don't know what I meant to do. And I'm a nobody because I don't have a career. My husband's like doing so well. I was getting out of the loop of something's wrong with my body to I can, because I was creating this new life. I was creating this new place for us. I was turning our house into a home here in Miami, meeting new people, new conversations, new places to drive, new places to try on the weekends. I think it was all a part of the plan. It was all part of my healing journey. So in 2023, people in Miami starts like, you should start a show. Like you know so much. And obviously there's like a little bit of imposter syndrome going on about here. Like I'm like, no, I've done that, been there, done that. It wasn't for me. I think, okay, once enough people said it to me, I was like, all right, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it big. I'm still hesitating Okay, I'm still not clear. My husband and I are bouncing ideas. We're talking about it. I'm consuming him about it every time we're at dinner. And one day, I'll never forget, I was at the Indian restaurant Key in Dadeland. This is in end of 2023, beginning of 2024. And I'm sitting there, and on the receipt that they gave us, the bill, I was writing in a pen the vision for a company. And I still have that piece of paper. And I wrote on it our company name, Manifest Ventures, and which, by the way, was a company that I started in St. Louis when I wrote the book and started the other podcasts. And I had also co-founded a blockchain consulting company under this. But when all of those things, quote unquote, I shut that company down. And so when my husband looks at that piece of paper, he goes, we shut it down. You want the same name again? Can we get the same name again? And I was like, I don't know. But that word, Manifest Ventures, to me is so personal because I did it with such a good heart back then when I came up with the name. And he goes, okay, well, we have to see if we can get that name again. And I was like, no, we're going to. And I put Manifest Ventures, and then I had 5 or 6 verticals. And I was like, this is going to be the show. This is going to be the luxury brand. This is going to be the movies, documentaries, and TV shows. This is going to be the tech arm. And this is going to be the music producing label arm. And he goes, okay, well, which one are you going to start with first? And I go, the show. Because that is where I stopped twice. And he goes, okay. He's getting excited. Like, I remember this day. And I remember what table we were sitting at this restaurant too. And we go here like once a week still. And I was like, I'm going to start with the show. And I was like, hear me out. I was like, it's going to take a lot of investment, but I'm going to start with video. And he goes, really? He was like surprised that I was willing to put myself out there. And I'm like, yes. Because I'd already been doing social media for a year. So doing social media for about a year and a half was almost like me not knowing, but it was like setting the scene. It was like setting the stage for me. Me getting comfortable being in front of the camera, me getting comfortable with people photographing me getting comfortable with people following me, putting myself out there, sharing my thoughts, making TikTok videos. Like, I didn't know even then that it would lead to this, right back to a show, to a podcast. And never even thought in my wildest dream that it would lead me to having a video show on YouTube. Brian asked me, he's like, are you sure about this? Like, how do you know this is it? Like, we've gone through this a lot of times, okay? And I said to him, I was like, because I can't sleep. These last few days, I'm up in the middle of the night, writing in my notes app, getting up, going to my computer, in the middle of the night doing stuff. Like, I can't stop. And I'm invigorated when I think about this. That was end of 2023, beginning of 2024. Obviously, 2024 was filled with work, planning, finding the right people, investing capital, the whole 9 yards. A lot of fear, a lot of getting over fears. And then 2025 is when we launched this show. And so it begins.